Do they see us?
They see you and they hear you.
Oh, okay.
It actually is coming through really well. So I'm going to be very brief and not say anything. So, hello, welcome. That was a bit of a technical whirlwind. We're always learning here at the Processing Foundation, trying to figure out how to use this kind of stuff that we're living our lives with. My name is Dan Shiffman. I've been working on processing since around 2003, 2004. And I'm just here to sort of say hello and welcome from the Processing Foundation itself. The point of this session is to give you a little update on different things that are happening and projects and initiatives that we're working on, and that you can hear from some people who are working on some of these projects and initiatives who are physically here, and some who are beaming in from other time zones and locations around the world. So I thought I would, first what I want to do is just thank all of the people who organized this incredible Processing Community Day event, which has just been organized and run event. The organizers are Bomani McClendon, Lee Tussman, Matilda Wasaki, Oriana Meldilcott, Rebecca Marks Leopold, and Todd Anderson. And also additional help from Leandra Tehador and Jeff Thompson. So thank you. Thank you also to the support from the Department of Education Computer Science for All initiative that have provided a lot of funding for this event. The youth school itself, which is providing hosting support, funding also from Code and Liberal Arts at Eugene Lang, and some operational support from Baby Castles. So I know from other events that I've been to and helped organize how much incredible work and energy and emotional energy and time goes into these types of things, and it's just been a real thrill to be able to be here and soak all of the wonderful energy in today. So let me start by just, many of you here are here because you're familiar with the Processing Foundation, but I thought it would be useful to take a minute just to read a couple paragraphs from the mission statement. If you want to find out all of the language from the mission statement and all about the organization, go to processingfoundation.org. Let me read this to you. Our mission is to promote software literacy within the visual arts and visual literacy within technology-related fields, and to make these fields accessible to diverse communities. Our goal is to empower people of all interests and backgrounds to learn how to program and make creative work with code, especially those who might not otherwise have access to these tools and resources. The Processing Foundation is specifically invested in expanding the communities of technology and the arts to include and support those who have not had equal access because of their race, gender, class, sexuality, and/or disability. So to me, this event is a reflection of that mission and the other. And so what the point of this quick, short presentation, in addition to hopefully giving some time for people to ask questions or have a discussion, is to tell you about a lot of the projects and initiatives that have happened in the last year and upcoming in 2020 that are driven by this particular mission. So I think I'm going to turn it over to Dorothy. Dorothy Santos, the program manager for the Processing Foundation. Dorothy for a while now, but it's just the amount of stuff we've been able to do and the amount of communities we've been able to engage with has just been expanded and grown so enormously under Dorothy's watch. So we're going to try something where, Dorothy, you're going to talk and I'm going to click through the slides. So we'll see if we can work together this way. Okay?
Awesome. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I wish I could see you all. All right. So, hi, Dan. Okay, so I am going to talk a little bit about the 2019 Processing Foundation Fellows and all the great work that they've done. And the first up is Prince Stephen Nurse. So Prince's project involved recruiting mentors, developing an automatic grading system, and delivering a smartphone-based online coding course that teaches programming using processing to high school and college students across Africa. And it's using the Android processing development environment application as well as Google Classroom, and it's a free learning management system. And then next, we have Manaswini Das, Nancy Chauhan, and Shahari Rashamshi. And they provided processing tools to the Indian community in their native language, which is Hindi. And they collaborate with educators and various NGOs to build a more diverse community around software. Our third fellow, Doge Watena, worked on the library for creating graphical user interfaces And instead of traditional or retain mode system, this library used an immediate mode, which allows for dynamic interfaces. And Matilda Wasaki, they taught trans and gender nonconforming youth basic programming as a means of self-expression and digital literacy in a personal security and queer privacy context. As a peer advocate, this project enabled participants to learn more about computational design and machine learning as either a means of digital literacy or personal empowerment. Shinshin Ye's project aimed to make p5.js more accessible in China, especially within the underrepresented communities, including women and gender nonconforming members or community members. And so to counter the fact that most online educational resources, such as YouTube, are banned in China, Shinshin recorded p5.js video tutorials for beginners in Mandarin and shared them on Chinese video sites. And Evelyn Masso and Salja Grigg worked alongside the larger community of open source contributors to realize the 1.0 release of p5.js. Evelyn focused on various tooling in the p5.js repository to improve the p5.js contributor experience. Salja's focus was on web GL stability improvements, expanding developer documentation, and creating new channels of communication for contributors. So both Evelyn and Salja's p5.js fellowships were also supported in part by a grant from the Mozilla Open Source Support Program. And the last two fellows were teaching fellows. Emily Fields and Leila Quinones worked with their students on experiments of motion detection. They created interactive projection, while Emily created interactive projection for dancers in their school's annual digital dance performance. And then they also used their findings to create a unit of study in motion for the NYC Department of Education to share with fellows, fellow computer science teachers. And then lastly, Leila Quinones, her project consisted of writing curriculum that teaches students how to integrate sound animation and interactivity into a creative computational artifact in p5.js. I might have mentioned this already, maybe not. They are teachers in the software engineering program of New York City Public Schools, and their fellowships were also in collaboration with New York City Department of Education's CS for All initiative. And now moving on to the 2020 Processing Foundation Fellows. We're so excited to work with them. First up is Erin Davey, and this project is Cozy Coding, which is a series of cozy weekly Twitch streams that host interactive p5.js tutorials and lessons to its viewers. And we also have Michael O'Connell's project, which aims to curate, create, and pilot p5.js activities and lessons to help children from ages 8 to 12 more easily learn coding and computational thinking in a way that better engages and inspires them to create visually and develop script-based coding skills and thus go beyond Scratch and code.org. Next up is Inhwa Yum and Shenyan Kim. They will be working on their project P5 to 50 plus, 50 and beyond, which aims to improve the digital literacy and rights of middle-aged and elderly creators in a non-Anglophone and super aging society, South Korea. Along with the Korean translation of P5 website, they will host weekly workshops where participants of upper age groups can critically engage with their own digital experiences with multi-sensory elements of P5. Kalila Shapiro will be working on knowyourrights.com, an interactive online space that clearly and concisely displays different aspects of the American Accessibility Act, or ADA, in both text and visualizations with specific focus on the sections that protect students and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. It will be web accessible by W3 standards. We have a couple more here. So George Provenza's project involves working on computer vision for processing resources. This project will focus on the OpenCV library. how it integrates with processing, and how the community can learn from and remix contributed examples of their own projects. And last but certainly not least, Abdella Aramain will be using creative coding through processing software. The aim is to teach children and educators in remote villages code and languages. The project will address the challenge of the lack of qualified IT educators in rural areas, and the aim is to make learning code for the first-time users more engaging and enjoyable.
All right, thank you, Dorothy. Yay for all the...
Thank you.
With the fellowship program, we do this once a year. Then we have an open call for applications, which usually happens towards the end of the calendar year. So the next time that would happen would be later in 2020. So but be on the lookout for posts about the fellows' work. They work from now through generally May and June and receive a stipend for the time. And you can find out more information at processingfoundation.org/fellowships. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Lauren, the creator of p5.js and a board member of the Processing Foundation. She's going to sort of 2019, p5.js in 2019, and what's ahead for 2020.
Hi everyone. It's such an honor to beam in and see you all, although I don't really see you. I hear you. Because we really think of our work with the foundation as just like this kind of support for this, like all the amazing things that all these communities around the world are doing. So it's so awesome to just see what's happening in New York City and be a little part of it. So I'm going to give some P5 updates. We had a really, really exciting year. I'm going to start by talking about the P5.js Contributors Conference, which happened in is that August or July? August, at the Frank Gracchi Studio for Creative Inquiry at CMU in Pittsburgh. So we had a group of 35 participants gathered together for about a week, advancing the code, documentation, and community outreach tools, and exploring the current landscape of P5.js as a programming environment. And the group comprised a diverse range of participants within the fields of creative technology, interaction design, and new media arts. And we had sort of 4 focus areas. So those were access and accessibility, music and code and performance, landscape of creative tech, and internationalization. So this is an image from the first, next slide please. From the first day when we had Sina Baum sort of open things with a workshop thinking about web accessibility. And for a lot of us, it was really new material, just understanding what the experience of navigating the web is if you're blind or seeing impaired. Moving on, this is a picture of Shanae Micheline Holloway, who's one of the organizers, along with Carlos Garcia, Luisa Pereira, Omayeli Aranca, and me. And with lots of support from Dorothy. So as a team, we sort of tried to organize this open structure where people came together around these tracks and then really for themselves figured out what they wanted to work on over the week and where they wanted to put their energy. And so we kind of closed with a public day, which we called open space, where every kind of track or focus group within the conference got to share. So this is Evelyn Meso talking about one of the ideas that we've sort of committed to with P5, which is that we will not add any new features unless they increase access. And so our hope with this idea is that it's not about shutting down what we add to the library, but instead promoting this kind of ongoing conversation about what is access and how do new features factor into that and what else needs to be opened up. So if you want to see more, you can go to this link here and some documentation. And then I just wanted to kind of close out this conference section by this video that Chen Chen-Yang made. It is in Chinese, so if you don't understand that, I think you can still get a lot from the video content that's in here. If we can play that.
大家好，我现在在匹兹堡的卡耐基梅隆大学参加 p5.js 贡献者会议。在接下来的5天内，会有大约35名来自世界各地的贡献者一起在这里的创意探索 工作室一起探究如何让 p5.js 变得更好。贡献者们包括设计师、艺术家、程序开发者、教育者等等。首先带大家来看看我们这5天会议的地方。
我们组成了不同的工作小组，关注不同的话题，包括如何让 p5.js 变得更加无障碍，还包括如何在表演中结合音乐与代码，又比如创意科技的现状与未来，以及 p5.js 在全球范围内的扩展。这也是我在这次会议中主要参加的工作小组。
Cool. It sounds like it finished. So yeah, and so that conference was part of a year-long effort we've been making to get to our 1.0 release, which is, we have a date, February 29th. So it's very exciting. There's lots of improvements. I won't read through all those, but you can see them. And then there's a lot of new features coming. So we're really excited about all of that. One of the features that's coming is a new p5.js gallery, which will be launching on the 29th also. So look out for all of that. And if you happen to be in LA, we're actually having a release party on the 29th. More information coming soon. And then along with that, we've been sort of putting in a really intense effort to document everything. So as some of you may have read, we're moving to a rotating model of leadership. And so I'll be stepping back and we'll be looking for a new leader for the next year to lead the project, and we'll keep rotating every year after that. So we've been putting a lot of effort to document things so that transition goes smoothly. So that means the user documentation, like the reference, updating that, but also documenting how the code base works, how the community works, everything you might need if you're kind of coming in new as a leader. And we've also been just creating this zine that has tried to include as many contributors as we could. So this is a publication. Stephanie Tam is the designer working on that, and we earlier this year collected a bunch of content from all of you, and so that will also be coming out on the 29th, and we'll have something online if you want to order one, I believe. And so I'll wrap up my section here to just say, I mentioned this already, but we're going to be having an open call for the p5.js lead. And this will be a special year-long fellowship. So we're still working out the details, and we're actually having an open call, like an online meeting next week to talk through this. So look out online for information about that if you'd like to join in the kind of decision-making about how this process could run. And then in the further future, we'll be launching this call. So if you're interested in actually stepping into the role of steward, lead, facilitator of the P5 project for the next year. I hope you'll consider it, and I would also hope that that all of you will take a moment to think about this and put aside worries that you don't have the technical expertise or the leadership experience or any other qualifications or skills that you might kind of project onto it, and instead think about what you might bring to this role and how you might lead this project. Because we don't see this as just like handing off the project and then saying like, good luck, but more of this conversation where we as a community try to figure out how we support each other and continue to build this tool. All right, so I'll hand it over to Dan, I think.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you to Lauren for all the work that she has done in shepherding the p5.js project, and I think that, you know, and many of you have experienced this or are aware of the challenges that come with maintaining a healthy open source project over a very long period of time, and that's really something we want to do at the foundation. The point is not to do quick fixes or is to really think about how do we build an infrastructure to honor the work of people, to pay people for this work, and to allow this work to sustain itself over a long period of time. And this idea of a rotating model of leadership is somewhat new for us in our thinking. I'm really excited to see where it leads. Very quickly before I turn it over to, I think, Cassie next, about another open source project that we're maintaining that's related, is I just want to briefly mention that there is, if you're wondering, a Processing 4.0 alpha that is currently out. Speaking of things that are very challenging to maintain, try maintaining a Java-based desktop piece of software in 2020. A lot of stuff, it's a lot of fighting with really lower level operating system based things, and Ben Fry and many collaborators have done a tremendous job over now close to 20 years of doing this work. So Processing 4 is mostly not a big a lot of new features, but just trying to keep processing running, chugging along on current operating systems. And I just want to mention Sam Pottinger, who is somebody I know Ben Fry has collaborated a lot with on this Processing 4 alpha. So take a look at that. And then I'm going to now turn it over to Cassie to talk about the p5.js web editor. Cassie!
So my name's Cassie, and I have been working on this project with P5 Web Editor for almost 4 years. I started it 4 years ago. It turns 4 on May 2nd, which is it's a long period of time. But some cool numbers that I have gotten from the database is that there are currently 1.2 million sketches uploaded, 171,000 registered users, and there's about 690,000 page views per month. So, yeah, those are some It's really amazing to have that much support on like a project that I've been working on for what feels like a long period of time, and just like keeping alive. Kept it alive for 4 years. So I've been working on some new features, and this is with a person I've been working with, Andrew, who's based in Berlin. Let's see if this works. Are we not on the internet? We must be. Oh yeah, you're right. We must be. Oh no, it may not work. We'll see. I think it's HTTP. Yeah. Is that a firewall?
It's working for me.
Wait, really? Oh no, but you're loading it on your. I was like, somehow you're in this computer.
I'm in the closet and back.
Okay, well, shoot, but I was hoping to show them live, but anyway, we'll go back to the slides. But I'm working on adding collections, so you could like organize your sketches into collections, which would be exciting, and also a public API, so you could like write scripts to upload and download sketches. Some other stuff I've been working on, I had a Google Summer Code mentor who added, Rachel Lim, who added this search bar to it. I also, at the P5 Contributors Conference, worked on a mission statement and really just thinking about, you know, as this project turns forward, like where I want to point it and like how I want to, you know, thinking carefully about how I want to add new features and really, I think in line with, like, you know, only the P5 1.0, what do you call that? New slogan or whatever, new guiding principle, to like only add features that increase access. Yeah, just I think keeping that in mind and like expanding that, you know, trying and thinking about how it's different from other code editors. The other thing I've been doing is trying to make it easier for people to contribute and figuring out how to organize issues and like document all this stuff. In line with what Lauren was saying about not needing to be an expert in, you know, in like leading a project like this or an expert about code or whatever. I had never, I wasn't like an open source contributor, like a person who would contribute to open source in a major way before I started this project. And so there are many things that I'm learning, including managing issues. So, yeah, it's something I'm working on, and that's all the slides I have. Yeah, but just want to say, like, really always looking for ideas and support, and I try to make myself very like easy to talk to me on the internet. Please like feel free to open any issues or email me and just like talk to me about things you'd like to see. I want support, and I also just want to say I appreciate support because it's really hard to do the project for 4 years. Just gonna ask for that, but that's all I have to say. Well, thank you.
Hi everyone, hope you can hear me. I'm Saber. I am the Education Community Director for Processing Foundation. I started about a year ago, in fact, because I remember being here this weekend soon after the announcement. We've been doing a bunch of projects related to that, and I want to run through them with you. I'm based in New York. I'm a middle and high school computer science teacher as a day job. P5 and the editor are two of my favorite websites to go to. I contribute, you know, thinking of all the students, a few thousand page views probably. Yeah, so here we go. Google Summer of Code is something Processing Foundation participates in. It is Google supporting open source by offering stipends to students and mentors, and we'll be back in it again this year. Hopefully, we put our application in. And here are some of our GSOC students from last year. I guess if you're interested in joining up and hopefully we're part of it, applications will open up in about a month. You think of what kind of sort of software writing project you want to do, and we provide mentorship. We also, this is PCD, it's also PCD worldwide. Last year, Processing Foundation encouraged the community to host their own. This is the second year that we are continuing that kind of work. So if you look at that calendar to the right there up on the screen, we are at PCD NYC. Right now is also PCD Bangalore. And if you go on Twitter, you can actually see their tweets happening at the same time. Although time difference maybe doesn't make sense. Maybe they are hosting after they got home after the event. And there's a bunch coming up. So it's a wonderful thing to do. You can still be a part of it. You want to, you know, PCD Brooklyn, wherever you're from. We support it all throughout the year, and we want to make it something that the community creates and takes part in. We also built a little website as part of the Processing Foundation website to showcase educators in our community and the curriculum that they've made. We started, you know, with this little guy named Dan Shiffman, who has this little YouTube channel. This is the Sharon De La Cruz one, who's another awesome educator, and the curriculum she made. And we'll be continuing that throughout the year and showcasing different educators. There'll be our friends in the DOE, some of whom I think you know are here today. Their work will be up here as well. And then this is a little bit more personal to me, but it's part of processing now. We also organize education-focused events. Processing community, as you know, wide with lots of wonderful topics. The event for educators and students, CC Fest, we do them in New York, San Francisco, and LA. If you're a K-12 educator or interested in that conversation, and we also want to take it to other places and support more communities. So. Oh yes, this is the big message that I need to deliver. And as Cassie just said, a lot of this work, and especially to do it fairly and to pay people, requires support. I should have thought about how to phrase this. If you can, please give. You can go to processingfoundation.org/support, and you can sign up to be a member. You can ask your school to sign up. If you can ask your educational institution to sign up. In fact, if you need to generate an invoice, we have a little form where you can say, hey, I'm using the software, we should pay for it. Here's an invoice for 100 students, and we should give them $5 each, and I'll generate a $500 invoice for you. You can take it to your business office and be like, please pay this. And it'll be a donation that'll help sustain this foundation and this wonderful community that's around it. So, thank you. You probably have some last words. No. Any last words, Lauren and Dorothy?
It's so nice to be here, and congratulations on pulling off such a great processing community day.
No, I wanted to show you. No, my camera doesn't work. That was the whole problem. I was going to attempt to turn around, okay? Everybody one at a time, you just walk up here. I don't know if I think we're probably up at the end time-wise. Because I know that there's performances and other things happening next. Yes. Anything from the organizer of the PCD you want to say?
Dan, you could do maybe like a few minutes of questions if you'd like. Yeah.
Well, so we can take a few questions, and then also I'll be around for the next, and all of us will be around, so we can. Also any questions for Dorothy or Lauren, or just general questions? We'll figure out who wants to answer. Yes.
Yeah. So, is there any chance of webcam functionality being added to processing? Because as far as I can tell, it doesn't have that in any way, shape, or form. And no one's written any libraries. I would have no idea how to write that. So.
Do you mean accessing the camera from the webcam in the processing desktop job software? So there should be a video library that if you go to Sketch, add library video, that has that functionality built into it. Let's talk after. I know how to do this. Yeah.
I'm always happy to accept tips from like these legends.
Other questions? Hopefully not debugging your code.
Are you guys going to be doing more stuff with like ML5 and like more libraries like for that, or just like, that was.
Great, so this is a question I guess I'm equipped to answer. So some of you might be familiar, there might have been a workshop today, or you've seen that there are lots of other, over the years there's always been libraries for processing that the community has built. Actually, that's what one of the fellowships is about, is extending the OpenCV library for processing. So the ML5 project is a separate project, which is a library for doing machine learning in JavaScript. A lot of the same people who work on ML5 also work on P5. There's a lot of intertwining of the community. I think it's it's an interesting question to think about what role does machine learning play in the creative coding community, and how can this community be thoughtful and intentional about educational resources around machine learning, creative arts projects around machine learning, public advocacy around data and machine learning. All these are really big, difficult topics. I don't know to what, and so I think that's something that we can, from the Processing Foundation side, we can hopefully support and continue to collaborate with and help foster additional libraries and other projects that touch on these issues. I don't know if Lauren or Dorothy wants to add anything to that, but that's sort of where we are right now. But if you're interested in machine learning and how it relates to processing P5 in these communities, ML5 is certainly a library. You can use both of those together. And I'm happy to chat about that too.
Thank you. Are there any areas of the project that you'd like to call out contributions, whether it's around tutorials or documentation or that kind of thing?
Lauren and Cassie, do you want to take this one?
Can you repeat the question?
Let me say it into the microphone. And it was any specific areas of the projects that we want to call out that we are looking for contributions.
Oh, all areas. I think for P5, the WebGL continues to be one area that has a lot of work to be done still, although we've made a lot of progress in the past year. I think also for people that can do translation on the website, we now support Chinese and Spanish, but because we're always updating the website, there's always more things to be kind of added or edited. So those contributions are always really welcome. And then I think just, or documentation is another thing that's super, super helpful. So even like as simple as noticing an error or an inconsistency in the reference and logging it to actually going in and fixing it or adding examples is extremely helpful. And then other than that, I think just wanting to say that it's, please feel welcome to, join on social media or on GitHub and join the conversations around the issues and jump in anywhere you like. There's no, you don't need to be like approved or invited to do that. Anyone is really welcome.
Yeah, I echo everything that Lauren just said. I think specifically for the web editor, there's a lot of open issues, but lots of things that I could use help with would be cleaning up some code, honestly. It's like the project is like 4 years old and can use some refactoring. And making contribution documentation. A lot of documentation could be useful. And also management, like helping me manage issues. Those to me feel like big things I could use help with. But also truly anything, please help me. No, but really, like anyone is welcome, and yeah, and also if you don't feel welcome, tell me why. Like I would love to hear about the things that don't feel welcoming and that feel intimidating and feel like or reasons that you feel like you can't contribute.
Because one thing, this is not what you usually think of when you think of a traditional open source contribution, but since I see so many teachers in the room, and I know Saber has done a lot of this work in the last year as being like a point person for this question, but I think we make a lot of assumptions about what's going to be useful in the classroom, and we have our own teaching experience, but especially in the sort of K through 12 space that I know Saber brings all of his expertise with. Like, it's so useful when we hear from somebody, you know what I use every day in the classroom that's really helpful with the students is this feature, but this thing doesn't work, and it would just make it so much easier to teach with. So that kind of feedback is so valuable. That's not, it wouldn't make any assumptions that we know about that, how you're using it, or what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I was just gonna say also just like reporting bugs. And like, like I just overheard someone say like, oh, like I tried to do this thing on the web editor, but it didn't work. And I was like, did you report it? So yeah, just like tell me.
Yeah. Maybe we can end with raise your hand if you want to do one of the things we presented today.
Like any of the workshops that have been done today, or
Are we doing any workshops?
Specify your question. What do you mean anything in the future?
Oh, sorry. If you wanted to participate in any of the things we presented, either GSA, sorry, I wasn't very clear. Any of the events we're doing, anything, if you want to be part of it, if you just want to let us know that very quickly, you can just raise your hand right now. And it also would be a nice sign to see a bunch of people raise their hands.
Wait, may I add something? Dorothy.
Yeah, go for it.
If anyone has questions that maybe they were too shy to ask, or there's contributions that you want to make, you can write foundation@processing.org. I check the email, so I'm on there, or you can just contact me directly, Dorothy@processing.org, and then I can work with you to find the appropriate person that you might be able to work with.
Thank you everyone so much for coming. Thank you again to the PCD NYC organizers and all of you for bringing your spirit and energy to this event. There we go, we got it. And we'll see you at the, where's the next one? In like Brazil or something, or are we all flying there?
We're gonna just walk outside. We're gonna walk outside and we're gonna start the open projector where anyone can sign up. I don't know if anyone can. A few people can sign up for 5 minutes to show work to everyone.
And then we're gonna walk down to Brazil.
What's that?
And then we're gonna walk down to Brazil. Of course.